Pessoal, bom dia. Hoje eu estou aqui com o artista Benson. Ele tem um projeto chamado Einarr's Journey. Não sei se alguns de vocês conhecem, inclusive tem um livro que é como se fosse uma enciclopédia sobre a mitologia nórdica e alguns eventos relacionados a ela. Nós temos também um outro projeto que ele tem parceria com o ilustrador Jonas Laumarkusen, que é o projeto Gelmir, que também tem sido muito popular na divulgação sobre os estilos de arte nórdico, da era viking, e a gente vai ter aqui uma conversa justamente para conhecer um pouco mais do trabalho dele e como funciona também esses projetos. Mr. Connell, thank you so much for accepting the invitation to be here and talk about your work, about Viking Age art. So for start, how do you start your interest for research about Viking Age, about the art of that period? How start your interest for that?
So the Viking Age art is something I've only recently started with. That's part of my project with Jonas. I kind of started with like runic stuff and Norse mythology, and it started about 4 years ago as part of my master's degree. I didn't really know what I wanted to do after my master's. It was sorry, I did a bachelor's degree in graphic design and then a master's in design management, which is just a fancy way of saying creative business management. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I kind of got interested in, like, the Viking aesthetic, or the modern version of the Viking aesthetic, the kind of fantasy side of things, through some video games I was playing, and decided, fuck it, I'll do some art with this and see how it goes. Can I swear, by the way?
Oh, that's interesting. It's I think it's little similar that I do, because I have a master's degree in art, but I stopped to research a little about that. But I love to start to study Viking Age art, and we saw that it's an style of art that have many types. And in your opinion, what's this make us this art so different from other styles of art? That what you see that these arts are very unique, in your opinion?
I think for me, so I'm interested in that kind of style of art in regards to tattoos, because I kind of started off doing sort of runic tattoos, stuff based on binder and sigils, that kind of thing, and it's just kind of developed into an interest in Viking art. So I have these, you could say I have these hand tattoos. So and I have some others as well, which are I just think they look cool, and not so much from it didn't start so much from a historical sense. It's going in that direction now because I'm learning so much with Jonas, but I just think it looks cool. I've been working with a few different sort of tattoo artists as their social media manager, and I think I've worked with like 4 or 5 now. And so I spent a lot of time just looking at Nordic tattoos, and this is clearly something that's that's gaining popularity. And I just think the art styles are beautiful. They're especially when it comes to tattoos, because with that kind of the flow to the knotwork, you can adapt it to any part of the body in any way. And I just learning more about each style through Jonas. I'm just diving into it and getting really interested. We started doing commissions together now as well. I take on a lot of like art commissions because I don't yet know how to tattoo, and he's been joining me on those recently, and that has been a lot of fun because we get to just break the rules and do what we want. Question for you. I had a quick look through your YouTube channel, and you've obviously interviewed quite a lot of people. What started your interest in kind of, I guess, interviewing people?
Oh, interesting. It's the first time the guest asking me something. I started my interest in 2023 when I was finished my master's degree, and I love to how can I say, to have this contact with people that what made people discover the Viking Age. I was questioning me what I can invite people to talking about that period, what's connect many people around the world about this subject, and I start this project. with peoples of many places,
Mhm.
with many works that together they share this passion, the Viking
Mhm.
Age. And I think this is was I start the interest for doing that.
I think it's really cool. I think it's really cool. I see that you've interviewed a lot of people. It must be a lot of fun. I've done something similar to this, like you could call it a podcast, so to say. I've done one with Horns of Odin now, which was quite interesting. One with a friend of mine, and the third one was you. So I'm sorry I took so long to finally get around to doing it. I still haven't finished the book, by the way. But yeah, I think it's really cool what you're doing. What made you reach out to me in particular? Because my work isn't so much about the Viking Age. It will be soon. That's kind of the direction it's going. But for me, it was mostly about the mythology. Is that what kind of struck out to you?
Yeah, I discovered your project called Einar's Journey,
Hmm.
and this is interesting me. And next, I have this project Gelmi, and this interests me to uh, have a conversation about with this topic with you
Okay.
that were related to your two projects, and
Mhm.
that's why I say, oh, I need to talk with Connor about this because I think you'll be interested in having here in the channel to talking about this projects.
Awesome. Are there any? So I'm just pulling up the Gelmo website and I'm pulling up my website. Are there any initial questions you have for me? I assume you've taken a look through both websites. I'd imagine the Gelmo website is very fascinating to you. But is there any particular questions you have to start with?
Yeah, I will start to asking you now about aspects of this project now. And my next question is, what do you start to have idea to create the project inner journey and the name and having a reference of something? What's the start your idea for creating this?
So it had three names. The first name was Fafnir's Hoard because it started off as just kind of like a shop. I was using a print on demand service, um, pretty disingenuously actually, so not in the best way. I just wanted to find some, like Viking symbols and make some money off it. And then very quickly, as I was doing my masters, it became no, let's focus on this, let's brand this, let's do something with it. Um, I changed the name during that, and then I changed it again to Einar's Journey. And the reason for that is I started writing a book on the Habermal, and I was working with my illustrator at the time, and we illustrated every stanza of the poem and tried to kind of present it as a story. So we have the main character who is Einar, and he kind of goes through all of these scenarios as the poem goes on. It's difficult because not all the poem itself doesn't necessarily follow a like a continuous story, but we just kind of made that happen. And then one of the books I'm going to be doing after this is a book on the Norse myths. And at the very end in Ragnarok, just before everybody dies, we've put a scene of this character who he gets killed in the Habermal by Odin, or Odin has him killed, so he can take him to Valhalla as one of his warriors. And then just before the end of Ragnarok, we've illustrated him like just swinging at a bunch of swinging a sword at a bunch of giants. So he's one of those warriors, and he's just fighting off a bunch of giants. So the first stanza of the Habermal is kind of the start of that journey, and then everything else in the Norse myths is within that. And then at the very end, he dies, and he dies at Ragnarok. So it just made sense, and the name feels more like a project than a business to me. It is a business, but I prefer to see it as a project. I don't like taking it that seriously, so to say, which is why I'm so informal.
Oh, that's interesting. So you have this project to an idea of some aspects of Norse mythology, and the name is based on some aspects of that you read about reference of Ragnarok, and this is
Mhm.
very interesting.
Yeah, so
I was thinking that to make like a piece of content about um, the gods and
mhm.
the mythology was fantastic because you have idea of creating like an encyclopedia. And
Mm.
what is, sir, this idea that you have? of creating this and classify the gods, all the things? What's it you have this idea to represent this?
So I met my illustrator through Fiverr, and I met him just by I think I was buying an illustration of some Valkyrie wings for a tattoo design I was doing, and it very quickly became apparent to me that he's very, very good at what he does. So we did some other small projects together, like some commissions, and then we just started illustrating like everything and anything in the Norse myths. So we started with this Havamal project, which was originally just going to be a series of posts, and then it became an idea for a book, and then the idea was to do a book on the Norse myths. And I very quickly realized that Norse mythology is fucking confusing. So that's where the idea for the encyclopedia came from, where I researched and tried to find like every sort of name of every god, goddess, Valkyrie, dwarf, beast, anything you can think of, and put it into this resource where someone can easily find what they're looking for, because it's so confusing. So a lot of the art that you see where we've illustrated the gods, for example, it will be going into that book, and I'll present it as a more exciting version of an encyclopedia, because I don't like reading large blocks of text. I struggle to read as well. I may be dyslexic, so I don't enjoy just reading like page after page of text. So we had this idea to just illustrate it, and we've had TV shows, we've had games, we've had other things that lean into that fantasy aspect of the Norse myths, and we thought, well, we can do it with art. So we did that for almost 2 to 3 years now, and the result is one book is almost finished. The encyclopedia is the first version of it is finished, but I plan to do a lot more. The next version will add a lot of the art, so it'll be much more visual. And we've kind of just been going from there. There's no major plan. I'm very impulsive, so me and my friend just happened to start these massive projects and then just progress with them and see how it went. And it's turning into something really interesting.
Well, that's very interesting. And we saw that in many projects, as you say, games and movies have their own representation of divines and many of figures that are in this imaginary of the Norse mythology. In your opinion, what is this challenge to create an image of a god or a goddess, to creating this narrative and explain, the gods is described like that? Do you use reference from the manuscripts or many other aspects that was in Moonstone, or you use your own imagination to do that? What's this work for you?
Partially a bit of both. So the main resources I use are the Poetic Edda and the Prose Edda. Those are kind of our best resources for Norse mythology outside of hundreds of runestones. The challenge, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because the challenge is also what makes it easy, which is that there's not a massive amount of descriptions surrounding these characters, maybe outside of Odin. But so when there's not much to go on, you're not limited by so much, so you can use your imagination. And I just left it with my illustrator, so I wouldn't really dictate to him what he had to draw down to every detail. He would do his research, and I would help him with that, and then he would just draw it. So our depiction of Tyr, we've got him, he's kind of like, he's bald on the top of his head, and he has the one arm because that's a characteristic that we know of. But aside from that, it doesn't tell us like what his face looks like or what his hair looks like, unless I'm missing something. So it was easy in the sense that we didn't, my apologies, it was easy in the sense that we didn't have to stay so close to what was written, because there's not much. So we just did our own thing. I think the video game God of War and God of War Ragnarok, I played both of those. They do an amazing job of that as well. We obviously don't know if the Vikings were tattooed or if the gods were tattooed, but I just think that's a really cool way of showing them. It's very different. So we're kind of doing something similar ourselves, but taking what little we can, from the poems, and kind of just stretching it a little bit.
Yes, it's a thing that's very peculiar, because we saw that the imaginary of the Viking tattooed and the some aspects of Gozen that was tattooed in God of War. In your opinion, what is the challenge when we study that Vikings probably have tattoos or don't have tattoos? This is having some implication for history or for to try to, how can I say, having a translate of this art for doing a tattoo. What do you think about this concept?
So, in relation to what, as in taking the art from history and then turning it into a tattoo,
Yeah,
is that? Yeah,
yeah.
I think that, I don't know. I don't like to follow the rules too closely. So we obviously have, a variety of different art styles from the Viking Age, but I don't think that we should have to stick only within the realms of those. Because if that was the case, then we never would have made it past the Broa style, because you would have had to stick to the Broa style. You couldn't develop on that. So I think that there are fantastic resources to, learn the styles. But I think there's something special in taking that knowledge and then doing something entirely new. Especially with the runes, I really enjoy working with the runes, and I know that Jonas really loves working with the art styles. And more recently, that's kind of what I've been speaking to him about in our commissions, is that he doesn't have to stick to any historical rules, but rather we can just learn the different forms and then do our own thing with them. And I really like that kind of approach, because it doesn't limit you and it's a lot more fun. And there are, well, if we look at the Germanic art styles and then the Viking art styles, there's what, like 13, 14 different styles. There's no reason, we can't take all of those and make new styles going forward, because that's what they did. So yeah, I think for tattoos especially, because there's so many documented examples of these art styles, there's just a creative well there for us. We can take so much inspiration from all of this, and we're still finding new ones today. So I don't think there's too much of a leap from carving something into stone towards carving something into the human skin. I personally really love it. I mean, I have this design on my chest here, which is the start of a wolf. And I will do another one, and it goes up the arm, and I just think it's fantastic. I absolutely love looking down at my hands and seeing this art that was, inspired by history, but is still kind of new.
Oh yeah, I think it's a great idea to transform this art into tattoo. We don't have how can I say, much information about the Vikings using what type of tattoo they are using, but I think when we transform this art to the skin, I think this gives us a new form of art, and this is, I think this is made this more beautiful that yeah, and this is, I think it's fantastic to have these ideas for tattoos and have these many knots, many creatures,
Yeah.
and this is a lot very cool.
What's really cool is so one technique in tattooing that many people use, especially those who do larger tattoos, is freehand. So rather than placing a stencil on and then tattooing over the stencil, you draw the design directly onto the skin with a marker and then follow it. That's how this one was done by my friend. And I just think it's so cool, because the Viking Age art styles can be made to fit any shape. And when you look at stone carvings, many of those stones, it's not like a piece of A4 paper, right? It has its own natural shape, and you can work with any natural shape. So it doesn't matter what your body looks like. You could be very small, you could be very large. You can form a tattoo around that, and it's really cool. One of my projects was it's called Viking Tattoos Volume 1. It's an ebook, also unfinished, but where I paid, I think it was 36 different artists and myself to just draw some tattoos inspired by Norse mythology and Viking art. And I just gave everybody creative freedom. I paid them all, and the result, which I'll send to you, by the way, the result is just 250 amazing tattoo designs from all these different people with all these different, unique styles. It was a lot of fun to make, and I don't like Pinterest tattoos, so it was kind of my solution to that.
Yeah, I see the images of the book, and I think, whoa, it's fantastic because they are so different. One of them have colors, one of them are in black white style, and I think, whoa, this is so different. And we saw that artists doing the North mythology, the events of the Viking Age with different perspectives. I think it was a fantastic idea for people that was searching for doing a tattoo based on these subjects. And you told me about you have preference for runes, and in your website you have a system that we write and we give the I think the translation in runic translation. What is how can I say these settings work in the website? I was very curious to know how do you create this system.
So it's kind of a funny story. It's actually stolen, but not by me. So I used to work with a business who realized that this was very, very good for SEO. Now there's a business called Valhyr, and it's owned by a guy called Rennet, and I absolutely love him. He's become my friend recently, and we've done some things together, and we may have some more projects going forward. And so what happened was, my friend, the guy I used to work for, he took the code for the rune translator from Valhyr's website and slightly changed it and put it on his own website. And then I paid him to have that code. And I put it on my website after having a conversation with Valhyr. I told him, hey, man, I think this might be stolen from you. And he just did not care. He was happy for me to have it. So it's not perfect. It's really hard to sort of code a translator that works perfectly. I know that Valhyr he has a new version of his, which he uploaded within the past few months, and it is amazing. It works so well. And I'm working now with a friend of mine called Svein Eckers. He's a scholar in things like runes and Old Norse, like Viking Age languages and whatnot. So he's been helping me code a sort of a second version of mine. And it's on my website, but it's password protected because I believe he translated word by word about 13,000 different words into runes. And he managed to I don't know how he coded this because I'm an idiot when it comes to coding, but you could probably go to the website and when this new rune converter is live, and write in Portuguese and have that translate to runes via Google Translate. It's very technical, and I have no idea how he did it, but it's so cool. If you want someone else sorry to cut in real quick. If you want someone else to interview after me, I can speak to Spain because he's a very interesting guy to talk to, and I love working with him.
Whoa, it's fantastic. You'll be very interesting. Have an interview with him to know how he create this, because it's very, very amazing. When I saw that in website, I was typing, whoa, what this is work, and I think, oh my god, this is translates the runic. It's fantastic, and the translation is really for the original runic writing, or is just translation for similar example. A is similar to the A in
So the way that the coding on the current one works is it translates the letter to the rune, so it's not perfect by any means, but if you find yourself on that page, I'm going to go to it now. There's the box where you can type and translate the runes, but then underneath that I've written a series of tips that will help people. So certain things, like if you type the same letter twice, like double L in the word hello, the converter will write 2 runic L's, but that's not really how it's supposed to be written. You don't really have the duplicates, you would just write 1. So it doesn't do that for you. The second version that we're working on does, but I don't know when that will be uploaded. But yeah, so I left some tips underneath which can kind of help people to, I guess, learn how to make less mistakes. So it's not 100% accurate. It's very hard to make it that way. But I think I bought the code for it because I was trying to transliterate the entirety of Havamal into runes, which I did do on my website. And then my friend Svein did it a lot better. But I also did that for the encyclopedia as well. So I figured it would be good to have a tool that I could use for my own work. And I'm no expert in runes. I just kind of did my research and, tried to do the best I could. And I don't ever claim to be an expert. But it was very, very useful for that, because the alternative would have been copying and pasting each runic letter. So, or I could have used Valhir's, but
yeah, it's fantastic. And it's a thing that I was very curious about. We saw that the art that was made based on the Viking Age art styles, or to create the own personality for the arts, that people that work with this type of art. In your definition, we saw that have the black, white, and in some aspects the colors. We can say that is much common. We saw that art are much more black and white, or the colors is a thing that was invented next for the idea. What is that definition of? It's a colored art, or it's much more black and white art, and have a thing that right, or
So I think historically, this isn't something I'm massively knowledgeable on. Jonas would know a lot more about this than I do, but I think historically it would have mostly been black and white, just because it was carved into stone a lot more, or carved into, jewelry or metal a lot more than it was onto like fabrics. And it most likely was, it was used on fabrics in many different ways, but they haven't really survived the test of time as much as a stone would. So I'm sure there are many references that we don't have access to because they've faded away with time. But the idea of using color is really interesting, and I know that there are some examples of, like, colors that were used in the Viking Age, but I would say it was much more just, no intention of color, especially when carving into stone, because it would appear into the stone. If you're asking what my preference is, I think I do like the black and white, especially, for art and tattoos. But since working with Jonas, I've much more been leaning into the color, because on our Instagram page, the way we use color with our posts is we just use a lot of it, So we'll post different historical finds with the art on it, and I've been managing that social media page for a while, and we've just been using all sorts of colors. So as you scroll down the feed, it's really vibrant and really interesting, which I think it helps, because many people kind of tend to get bored by history. I know I lean much further towards mythology than history, because it's, it's more sort of fantasy and exciting. But so we're trying to take the history and make it exciting.
Oh, and to document some pieces and some figures that are in Gelmi project, how do you work with Jonas? How do you have the ideas to or him have the ideas to create these all things, to have to show the people, oh, this is work like that, the art is like that? Do you have some study about how the
So I think
figures are? How do you do that with him?
so. Gelmir is essentially sort of an extension of what he was doing on his own before creating this. Now I joined partway. Well, I joined after Gelmir was created. He was working on one of his compendium books, and I just reached out to him and asked if he needed any help. And it turns out he did need help. He needed the backgrounds being removed from many of the images that he had access to. And if you don't know how to do that easily, it can be very, very difficult. Unfortunately, at the same time, I found a way to do that very quickly with Adobe Express Online. So I think I just put something like 20 hours of work into helping him with this book. And then from there, it just kind of, we just had meetings back and forth. I asked if he would be interested in having my help with getting this thing off the ground, and he seemed very interested in it. Now, because I studied business, essentially, creative business management, I'm very good at business. And with Jonas, if he could do all of his work and give it all away for free, he would. But we had a conversation about, how we need to do this. And I kind of told him that we need to be, well, he at least needs to be focused on the money, so that he can live and so that he can do this as much as he wants as a full-time job. And so we just kind of agreed that he has a lot of the knowledge. I'm very interested in this kind of stuff anyway, where my own project, Einarr's Journey, leans into the mythology and fantasy, and especially more contemporary art styles. Jonas's work and the Gelmir project is like the opposite of that. It's like the yin to the yang. It's the history. So the history is a massive gap in my knowledge. So it just made sense, and I really like Jonas. I love working with him. We have a meeting every Tuesday where we kind of discuss what we're going to do for that week, or what projects we want to work on, or what we're going to do for the website. And from there, it's just been slowly developing. It's something we just let naturally develop. I built a shop website using Shopify for as a separate thing to the main website. So we have both of those now. And ever since then, we've just been, working on the books and just working on the content and whatnot, and just trying to get this stuff out there. So one of the main books we have is the Compendium of Viking Art, which has all of the images, of the different historical finds, but all of that stuff is on the website for free as well. So we're kind of taking the best of both. So we still put a lot of stuff out there for free. And then if somebody wants to support what we're doing, they can buy the physical version of the book, but they're not missing out on anything if they don't. So we kind of hit that equilibrium, you could say, of putting stuff out into the world for free and helping people who, will find use of these resources, whilst making money as a business should, but in the right way, if you get me.
Well, this is fantastic, because the book was made with so careful and many details, and I think the piece that was shown there, the archaeological objects that was showing there, it was so detailed, and we saw with a image that showing very well how the object is, and how they are finding the archaeological sites. And this is very, very interesting, how you and him do that. It's different.
Well, he gets I have to give him most of the credit, because I joined when he was finishing the Anatomy of Viking Art, and the Compendium of Viking Art and the Compendium of Germanic Art. So most of my work was just like removing the backgrounds from the images and saving them in a particular way. Those books are all him. He's an absolute genius. He's been studying this kind of thing for a very long time. And I would say he's one of the few people out there that are really bringing these styles back. It's a good mix between me and him, because I'm very well connected in the community of, artists and creators, partially through what I did with Viking Tattoos Volume 1. I spoke to many people, I paid them. So I'm kind of now using my part in this to, again, help people, give them resources so that they can create more art. And Jonas is all of the knowledge. Jonas is the brains behind the operation. He's been doing this for a long time. So it just made sense for us to both, join forces and do this as a business. And it's been working really well. With a lot of the images, this is partially why we've set up a shop and why we're trying to bring money in. Many of those images cost money to buy. We can buy the rights to them, and then we can put them on our Instagram for free. We can put them on our website for free, and we can also put them in our books to, make money, and then we can spend that money on more. So what we really want to do with Gelmir is create like an online museum of Viking art and history. If you're not from the Scandinavian countries like we aren't, it can be very, very difficult to go to, you know, many different museum websites from Sweden to, you know, to Norway to Denmark, and then translate those and find what you're looking for. Jonas is very, very good at that. So we're trying to make, how do I describe this? We're basically trying to take the concept of 100 museums and put it into one online resource that people can keep coming back to, and we keep updating it and we keep adding more. So that's our goal, you could say, and it's working. It's doing really well.
Oh, that's fantastic. And your style? Do you have some preference? And how do you think it's work to doing some these variations of these artist styles? What do you think about aspects of one of them, or do you see that they have some similarities, but sometimes they are very difficult to comprehend? How do you think about?
Do you mean the modern styles that artists are doing, or do you mean the historical styles?
The historical styles.
I think it took me a very long time to learn. Some of the styles are really similar. So the Broa and the Oseberg style are very similar. I would struggle to differentiate between the two if you just showed me some images. But then some of the later styles are a lot easier to, you know, a lot easier to identify. Like the Ernest style, the last one, is a lot more sort of slim, and, you know, and with all these sort of thin ribbons that like flow around each other, and the heads of the serpents look a particular way. And it's the same for the kind of styles before that. I'd say the earlier styles are the ones I struggle with the most, but that's because I don't particularly like those as much as the later styles in their aesthetic. I think they have a lot of value, and I think for what they are, they're beautiful. But if I was to design a tattoo with Jonas, I would always kind of favor the latter styles. So maybe from Yelling onwards. I don't mind working with the others, but I think there's a lot more in that for me creatively. I really like the Mammon style. It's probably one of my favorite. But yeah, I think that's kind of why why Jonas created the anatomy of Viking art and the anatomy of Germanic art, because he details the differences between them and the different motifs and, you know, the different things that show up repeatedly. So it's not easy to learn them. I mean, I'm still learning the different styles today, and I've been, you know, drawing them for a little while, especially alongside Jonas. But yeah, I think the answer to that would be the later styles are easier to differentiate. The earlier styles, for me, not so much.
Oh, that's very very interesting. I have preference in Uzbek because of
Okay.
because of the shapes of the eyeballs are very circular, and I think it's how can I say, it's the style that we wanted to give in a hug with in the creatures. I think they are very very unique, and have some, how can I say, and a good aspect to when we see. I think it's different from the others. But many persons told me that prefer Hendrik or Urnis in the most case. And one of the most interesting thing about this art, and people want to know what's the secret to create good Viking Age art, or have an idea to start to learn about this type of arts and styles, in your opinion, and how sometimes we can transform this in other things like tattoo, like an book cover. What do you have some
So the
tips?
secret.
Do you have some secret about how do you
Yeah.
can?
I have the secret. The secret to creating any good piece of art is 100 failed projects that it stands on top of. So, but in terms of taking the historical art styles and turning them into something new. I've spoken to quite a few artists about this now, and the kind of process that most people will do is take a historical piece that you like, redraw that piece, and then hide the reference, and then take what you've drawn, which is essentially a recreation, and save that as a historical recreation, and then do whatever the hell you want with it. You can take it in any direction you want. So I did this with a I think it was the Sigtuna sword pommel. There's a god mask on a sword pommel, and in one of the poems, I think it's Sigdrifamal stanza 6, it talks about carving Tyr's rune on your sword if you wish for victory, and just the loose connection of putting Tyr's name or Tyr's rune on your sword and finding a god mask in a sword pommel. I decided that's just the perfect combination to make a Tyr god mask. So I kind of took the recreation of it, cleaned it up a little bit, because obviously when you're carving into metal or you're carving into stone, there's no double tap, or there's no Control Z. You mess up. So it's not going to be perfect, and that's part of the beauty in it as well. But so I just sort of recreated that sword pommel, and then I made a sword design based on that for Tyr, which I thought was really cool. So the secret is just to start with a reference you like, and then break all of the rules. Just forget the rules. That's where creativity comes from. So, but in terms of learning the styles, there's a few good books out there. Obviously, all of Jonas's books, all of the Gelmir books are fantastic. My friend Isar over at Northern Black has a fucking giant tome of Viking art styles, which talks about each one of them. That's a fantastic resource. I enjoy using that. So, yeah, I think I don't know. I'm trying to think of what advice I would give to someone who was starting out with this, or what I did. I think start with your favorite style. So, if for me, for example, my favorite style is Mammon. I would advise myself to do like 20 Mammon designs, and then kind of go from there. It wouldn't really work for me because I'm too impulsive. So I'm all over the place. But yeah, that would be the secret: is fail 1,000 times and then finally have something you're happy with.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing because when we have some perspectives about this art, sometimes when we are drawing, we mix sometimes the styles with other style, and this is a very fun thing because when I doing this type of art, I'm illustrator too, and I sometimes I do, and the style connected with the other and make a new figure that was and turn this a very unique piece. And this is fantastic about because the styles combine with each other and turn then a piece something unique and beautiful, different. I think this is one of the most great things when we saw the and study this type of art.
Yeah, well, if you look at, I don't know, I think there's maybe like 14 plus styles, but if the very first animal style is one step, and then each other style is more steps up until we get to Einarr's, that's not the end. So there are more. We just make them, using inspiration from the others. And the beauty of having so many styles to sample from is that there are no rules with modern art. It's not disrespectful to not stick to the art styles of history. If anything, it's fantastic that we build on them. So yeah, you can take patterns from one style or a particular motif from one historical find, and then just merge those together, as long as the design looks good. And you said about you being an illustrator. I want to see your work. I want you to show me some of your work.
Yeah, I will send you my my Instagram. I have an Behance account too, and an Instagram.
Okay. Yeah. What's your Instagram? I'll look it up now.
Oh, are you writing here? Let me put here.
I think so. I've got it on my phone. I'm not the best with Google Meet, but
here.
Ah, if I can just find the. I have no idea how to use this on my phone. Oh, in call messages. Oh, there we go.
I created in a short time period when we talking for the first time. I didn't have Instagram, but I created next because I need a platform to share my work, and I create Instagram.
Well, I'm mostly active on Instagram. That's
Oh,
where I.
sorry. Don't have this E in the end of art. It's just art with T.
Oh, I have it.
You
I have
have
it.
the
I
E.
found it.
You find it? Okay.
Yeah. That's really cool.
We have many works. The Viking works are in the end because I work with photograph. I work with painting, many types of arts.
Mhm. That's really cool. Yeah, I see you've done the like an illustration of the raven as well from the penny.
Yeah, I made the raven flag, that what they called, but I do with the Aurora Borealis colors, and I
Mhm.
create a new thing with that.
Mhm.
I remember that I made the Odin with the ravens. That
Mhm.
was the icon of the channel, and have this necklace with pendant that was Odin with the two wolves that
Mhm.
he have, and have the swastika symbol, but it's not a thing that was apologized of faces or names, because people sometimes when they saw, they think, oh, swastika is a symbol with related to bad things, but it was inspired by the Germanic conception that
Mhm.
was a symbol of related to the figure of Odin, Thor, and was a symbol that was history in this culture because of that.
I think I think with the swastika, I think although it does have, a beautiful historical symbolism, I think it's
Mhm.
one of those things that's just been kind of it's been tainted, and it's been tainted a bit too far. I've had a few people who have messaged me and asked me if I could do a swastika design for them, and my initial response was just to tell them to fuck off, because you never know, and especially there's a lot of issues in the sort of Nordic pagan community with Nazis, and it's this big thing, but you never really know. It annoys the fuck out of me. I hate them, but and it's sad that there's a lot of symbolism that's just been hijacked. Me and me and another creator called Sigurd. I can't pronounce the Nordic words very well. Sigurd Bodhi. We did a post on the Othala rune, because there's a version of that which was bastardized by the Nazis, which has it's like that shape, but then it has these little wings at the end.
Mhm.
And we did a post about that, where we invited the community to draw the runic symbol Othala and use the hashtag. That was a lot of fun. And then he did another one for Tyr afterwards, which again is another symbol that's been kind of hijacked. Very annoying, because you never know. You could read a book by a scholar that's absolutely fantastic, and then you could find out that they're a fucking Nazi.
Yeah. It's necessary explain when we work with some symbols, because people sometimes don't have some knowledge or interpret with how can I say, with the side that was not good, because the symbol was very significant to in the period of German Nazism, and is difficult because this symbol was part of the Germanic and the Viking Age culture. We saw in many representations in rune stones, in objects made in iron, made in many types of how can I say, of materials, and people when saw sometimes will think, oh, this is scary, I don't like, but I every time that I work with this type of symbol, I would like to explain, not because not for give any doubt to the people say, oh, she's related to this or that.
Mhm.
The time that we live, it's very difficult because people are, um, how can I say, people are became showing what they are really are, and have people that are trying to how can I say things and doing things that are bad for other people. We
Mhm.
have the how can I say, in the United States we have the case of the um, people invaded the capital,
Mhm.
and a man was
Yeah, I remember that.
in a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Viking style, and people have this impression, oh, people that are like the Vikings are people that are related to that, and the world was in a complete chaos nowadays, and this is
I
the
think
difficult.
I think I do want to make a post on the swastika at some point, just kind of explaining what it was. But I know to do that, I need to have the symbol front and center, because that will gain a lot of attention. And then hopefully to the people that actually will read the description or will read through the post, they will understand that, I'm not just fucking posting about a Nazi symbol. I'm posting, what the original version of it was. I don't think that will save it. I don't think that will bring it back, as something we can use. I just don't see that happening, but it would be nice to do it. But then there's this whole thing of, if I do that, now I have the swastika front and center on my Instagram page. Um, you know, I think many people will not fully read the post before casting their judgments, which is stupid, but that's just the reality of things. Also, I have my dog scratching at the door, at our back door.
No
Yeah.
problem.
Come on, man. Come on.
Oh my God, he's so beautiful. It's similar. It's very, very. How can I say? It's so very similar to a wolf.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She's a
it's,
husky,
it's,
so
it's really, when I saw it, I think, oh, this is not a dog, it's a wolf.
yeah, I just have a wolf in my garden. No, she's a husky, and they look very
Oh,
similar to wolves, much much
yeah.
smaller, but they're nothing like wolves whatsoever. That thing up there, she's a princess. She's pampered.
Oh,
She can't hunt her own food. She just lays around all day and wants to be petted and given snacks.
oh,
Dog
she's
though.
so beautiful.
Mhm.
And the type of fur very, very similar to a wolf. uh,
She's so small though. Like for her breed as well, she's very small, but so adorable. So adorable.
oh, it's
She gets away
amazing.
with everything.
I have a dog too. I have a German Spitz.
A German.
German
How do you?
Spitz.
Oh, spit. Oh, yeah, yeah,
It's a
yeah, yeah.
Spitz.
Yeah. That's the very
And
small
mine
one.
is black and white. It's difficult to
Oh,
have this type black and white, and and mine born with these two colors.
I'm looking on Google now. Yeah, they're adorable because there's another dog, a bigger dog called a Samoyed. A Samoyed. There's this big
Yeah,
floofy
somewhere
cloud-looking
it's
thing.
very close to the these three types are very close. The Spitz, the Husky, and Samoyed, and I think you have another one that I don't remember the name. They are very close to
Mm.
the wolf, and Spitz have some aspects. They are introduced by the Vikings when they come to England.
Okay.
They are related to that, and it's it's a it's a very curiosity about that, because but they are very different from the type that we have now. We have now a type that was much more short, and not much bigger, and the speeds are much more bigger in that
The
period.
smaller versions look like really
Yeah.
fluffy chihuahuas. They kind of look like those. It's very cute. I'm trying to think if I have any questions. If I have any questions for you, is there any? Yeah, of all the interviews you've done on YouTube, are there any that really stood out to you that you really, enjoyed? Aside from,
What's interviews that I enjoy to do in the YouTube?
yeah, so you obviously got lots of videos on your YouTube of interviews you've done with people. Are there any that really, really stood out to you or you found particularly insightful?
Well, I think it have a lot that I love to do, but my first guest that was international people that was from another country was Professor Terry Gunnell. And
Mhm.
when I do this interview, this changed a lot of things because I met him and we talk and have conversations, and he helped me with many things. I think he was an incredible person, and very people that wanted to help others, and he was so fantastic. It's a guy that I really have some admired a lot. He's very intelligent and very patient with when we need something. He sent to me materials. He inspired me to do an article that probably will be published, I think, in the next year. I don't
Mhm.
remember. It's my last article that I produced because I was retired for doing articles and for being academic. I much more artist now, but he changed a lot of things to me. And I think the other interview that I loved to do was with Paul Mortimer. That
Mhm.
was the guy with that make reenact of Sutton Hoo finds, and for me was fantastic. These two interviews give me how can I say give me many happiness moments to do.
Do you do you struggle? So do you struggle with the, like, I guess, communicating in English? Obviously, I'd assume English is not your first language. So do you find it difficult? I would imagine that as you've been doing these interviews, you've been, learning it much more fluently. But is it something you struggle with? Because I have a lot of respect for the fact that we're doing this in English. I imagine it cannot be easy. My girlfriend is from the Czech Republic, so, and me and a few of my friends, we used to play online games with a guy who was from Finland, and it always amazed us how he would, translate from English to Finnish in real time and then respond. So I'd imagine it's quite difficult.
I think it'll be funny when I answer you this question, but I think English for me, I consider a language that's more easy than Portuguese.
Oh,
I
okay,
and
okay.
you say, what? How how do you say that? Because Portuguese is your language, but Portuguese is difficult, a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
difficult, much more difficult than English. The how can I say, the some aspects of the language and some regrets that you have to talk or to how can I say, writing.
Mhm,
It's a lot of difficult to comprehend, and people
mhm.
that I think people that learn Portuguese have my admiration because it's difficult to learn. It's when people that are from another country that will learn Portuguese, you say, "Oh my God, English is more easy."
My friend, one of my close friends, his girlfriend is from Brazil, and he said that he's trying to learn Portuguese, and yeah, I've heard it's very difficult. My girlfriend is from the Czech Republic, which is I mean, we joke about this all the time. It's a very difficult language. I've been with her for over 4 years now, and I'm not good at learning other languages at all. And sometimes, we will like watch a video together, and it may be in Czech, and it's just alien to me. Like, I would love to learn if it wasn't so difficult for me, but Yeah, it's very, very interesting because it's such a difficult language, as I'd imagine Portuguese is. I saw that you interviewed Jackson Crawford. What was that like?
Jackson Crawford was a very interesting interview, and I like very much because he's a person that have a lot of knowledge about Norse mythology, and he's have so how can I say a knowledge that was very very interpretative and intense. He liked so much that what he researched, and we saw that he have so many research about that, and he talking about many aspects of his research, and he have interviews with others researchers, and it was a very interesting interview. And he is a guy that was very calm, and he's very relaxed, and when I make the interview was very very nice. It's a very nice guy.
I think Jackson Crawford has me blocked on his Instagram. Um, I would love to interview him. I would love to talk to him. I think the reason for that is because I didn't when I first started doing my Habermal posts, I would put the runes, the runic translation from him into the posts, which I think I found later something in one of his videos. It may have been the long video with the entire poem, something about how he didn't want people using them. So effectively, I stole that. So I would love to have the chance to have a conversation with him, and you know maybe include Jonas and talk to him about the Gelmir project and stuff like that. Because one thing we're trying to do with that project is involve sort of the community and other academics and other scholars as much as we can. I'm not a massive fan of academia. That's where I'm lost. The sort of the academic side of thing absolutely bores me.
Yeah, he invited me to participate to the project. I remember. I think I sent him a message to told me when you are start this project to of interview. I think you and him you creating a podcast.
Me and Jonas,
Yeah,
we
Jonas
will.
Jonas said
Yes.
me that we have a project related to that. He invited me to to have some. You'll be in this project, but I don't know when he will start. And I sent to him that when he starts, for he advised me, and I will can participate with no problem.
Yeah, I would love to. Well, I mean, you've obviously interviewed a lot of people, so we would love to have you. I don't think
Mhm.
me and him have spoken about in like spoken together about involving you in that project, but we would love to do that. I mean, I have no issue with that whatsoever because you've already interviewed many people, so you have kind of a network of interesting people for us to talk to, and I'd imagine Jonas would be very interested in speaking to the likes of researchers of Viking history, and I would be very interested in speaking to the likes of sort of tattoo artists and other creatives. I mean, I see that you did an interview with Duggan Tattoo. He's someone I'm looking to work with on the next version of on Viking Tattoos Volume 2. I would love to pay him for some designs and kind of go from there. So yeah, we would absolutely involve you with that. I don't know when we will be starting our podcast. Anyone who follows me kind of knows that I take a long time to do anything because I just do so much. But when that happens, absolutely. But we don't want to. Well, not that we don't want to rush into it, but we want to make sure that when we do start a podcast, it's a very high quality. Sadly, with podcasts being quite a popular thing in the past few years, there are many of them that get started and are just of a low quality, or there's nothing interesting to talk about, and some of them are just downright trash. So if we're going to do this, we want to do it in a really interesting way where we can find the right people and we can have the right setup, because currently I'm talking to you on my phone, whereas I would like to have an actual camera and a microphone and maybe have someone to edit the videos and whatnot. So yeah, definitely we'll invite you on when we get started with that.
Yeah, it will be very interesting if you and him would have many of the of guests like you say Jackson Crawford, Tegan, have a lot of professionals and tattoo artists that are very very nice people, and I think they will be pleasure to be in your project. Many of them they are not difficult sometimes to talk, to present your proposal, and you say, oh, I have this, would you like to participate with my project? It's very very it's a thing that was very nice to do. I love when I start. I will end this project in the, can I say, in the 100th interview. I
Mhm.
only have the plan to do in the 100th,
Oh wow.
and yeah, and for me, it was a thing that I love to 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 do, and it's fantastic. It was a work that it was a part that I can say that, oh, this is a thing that I was very proud to
Well, I
do.
think if you want to stop doing this at 100 interviews, there's a lot that you would have gained, a lot of knowledge and skill that you would have gained from that. So even if you don't want to continue, doing additional interviews for yourself, there's always space for you on, within our projects. We have a lot to learn from you. But that's really cool. I think I've just been looking through your YouTube, and it's really impressive. You've found a lot of people to work with, some of which I recognize, many of which I don't. You did one with Haffer Tattoo. He's someone I've been speaking to a lot recently because he's going to do some designs for the next version of the book. And we had this running joke a while back because he looks like, well, when I had long hair, he looked a lot like me, or I looked a lot like him. So there's a few people whose names I recognize. It's quite funny as well because there's some creatives, but there seems to be a lot of researchers. I would love to speak to some of the academics about the work that I'm doing and the way that I'm trying to present the Norse myths, because I take a lot of inspiration from the history and the poetry, but I also don't see an issue in leaning more into the fantasy. So when I do retell my when I create my book on the Norse myths, it will be primarily focused on the poetry, but I'll present, each stanza of the poem with its artwork, and then just talk about it a little bit. What I've done with the Havamal is, so in the book, my English version of the Havamal isn't a translation from the Old Norse. It's kind of my own interpretation based on a bunch of translations I've read. So not every stanza is 100% accurate, and I'm fine with that, because my goal was to kind of create a self-improvement book where I talk about each piece of wisdom and just kind of explore that a bit. And sometimes I stay within the realm of what that's saying, and then other times I just go completely off track and talk about something else. But it's a really interesting project because it's like a self-improvement book, but I don't get to choose the topics. They're kind of chosen for me. So if this particular stanza talks about wealth, I have to find something to talk about wealth. Really fun project. And then the art, I was originally going to have a small segment of each page, which kind of was the lore segment. So, it spoke about what's happening in the story and whatnot. And I decided to take that out. So now it is just whoever is reading it, you kind of piece the story together yourself. There's little hints and clues within the art as to what's going on, and you kind of follow him on this journey. But it's not. I basically ignore it for the most part, unless I'm talking about a particular myth.
Yeah, it's fantastic knowing about all the plans that you have do, all you doing your works with your books with the website was amazing, fantastic to know all about this perspective. And I have to thank you for asking me something that you have some curiosity about the channel. I
Yeah,
think
of
it was the
course.
first guest that having a conversation, talking to one and wanted to understand how the channels work. It's a very, very nice to
Yeah,
have this
I
conversation.
I prefer conversations to interviews. So if I don't ask
Mhm.
any questions, then I'm just being interviewed, right? So yeah, it's cool. It's cool to know about what you're doing as well, because I look at your YouTube channel, and you have 199 subscribers, which for how many videos you've done is not a massive amount. But then I look at the content, and you've managed to sort of connect with so many different people. So it's really impressive what you've done. Like there's so much knowledge within all of these videos. Um, it's really cool because you brought on so many people. I mean, I guess I'm kind of an off kilter guest for you, because a lot of my work is just kind of crazy and out there, and very sort of fantasy based. Um, have you? I'm going to show you one thing because it's really really cool.
Mhm.
Um, I did the Viking Tattoos Volume 1, where I paid a bunch of artists, draw these tattoo designs. And one of the projects I'm now working on is I'm expanding out from that into clothing and into different things. So this is a t-shirt that I designed. Me and a friend of mine, we print them ourselves. So we order the art and we print them onto the t-shirts. And with some of the artists in the book, I'm now slowly building up my store to include their work. So I'll grab you one or two like t-shirts I've done recently and show you what's going. Are you familiar? Are you familiar with an artist called the Saxon Storyteller?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
This is a
Oh,
this is a t-shirt well, this is on the arm, but this is a t-shirt I'm made with him, and this is another one. Um, so
yeah,
he
I love the art of
he
this
drew a bunch of
designs.
designs,
It's amazing.
and I'm like printing them onto clothing and whatnot. And I'm going to do that with as many artists as I can. So it's going to be a very expensive and long term project, but something really cool will come from that, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love the shirts. I love to saw his website. I have to interview him because he have a lot of art, and I think it's beautiful and have
Mm,
this shape and colors. I think it was a very, very unique style.
he's a wonderful person as well. He's so easy to work with. So easy.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love to saw the pieces. I have some. I would like one day to buy how can I say a frame that he have with he have some frames
Mm,
posters or frames, but it's so beautiful and different. And he made one of that. I think it was the Sutton helmet, if I remember. He do and
trying to, maybe he did. Yeah.
yeah, I think. Let me see if he have. Um,
If you want one of these, by the way, so this is my Odin t-shirt. Um, it's got the little binder of his name in the middle, and then it has the wolves, and then on the back I have like a god mask. If you want one of these, I'll send you one.
oh, it's amazing. Thank you.
No, it's fine. You've taken a lot of time to to message back and forth with me and invite me and have a chat with me. I can send you a t-shirt.
Oh no! Thank you so much.
No, you're very welcome.
I was really really impressed. You're a very gentle person. I was fantastic doing this interview. Yeah, he made an art with the Sultan helmet. Was very beautiful. I saw here in the channel. Um, Mr. Connor, thank you so much for doing this interview. Was amazing. Fantastic. Thank you so much for talking about your work, about for the shirt, about everything that we produce here in this interview. I think was amazing conversation. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah,
Do
it's
you
been
have some
wonderful.
future plans? Do you like to share something that you are future you doing?
Yeah, I think I think there are many people waiting on me to finish the Habermal book. So I'm not sure when this video will go live, but one thing I will do is I'm going to find the timestamp and I'm going to take a clip of what I'm saying here. I have 44 pages left of the Habermal to write. I think last year I put a post up saying I wanted to get it done by the end of the year, by the end of 2024. I was able to get the draft done. I then said I would have the book finished by the end of March. I didn't have it finished by the end of March. And then I think I said I would have it finished before our Comic-Con event, which was towards the end of May, and I didn't have it finished by then. So for anyone who has kind of pre-ordered that book and is waiting on me, I'm doing it. Fuck off. No, it's coming. I'm going to try and dedicate next week to just finishing this book. I've been working with my friend who's a scholar. We've added so much additional content to it. Yeah, there are 44 pages left to write. The final version is going to be nearly 100,000 words, maybe at the higher end. As soon as I finish writing it, I'm going to release the digital version, the first sort of unproofread version of the digital, the ebook. And I'll release that so that people can see what I've done. I'll have it proofread, which might take, like a few weeks to a month. And then I'll be ordering all of the copies. And as soon as they arrive, I'll begin shipping them out in order. I think I've had over 100 pre-orders of this book, which is a lot. So there are a lot of people waiting on me. But yeah, I think I'm going to try and finish that as soon as possible. I've never written a book before. I didn't realize how much work it was going to fucking be. It's a lot. But yeah, that'll be my first project. We'll be finishing the Habermal. Once that's done, I'm going to release the first version of Viking Tattoos Volume 2. Number 1 still isn't finished because I have all of the art, and then I'm going to, talk about the art and format it really nicely. I have about 150 of the 250 planned artworks for Volume 2. So I'll release that with no text or anything, just the art. And then after that, I think I might take a break for like a few days. But for future plans, yeah, I don't really sit and plan things out too much. I have ADHD, so I'm very impulsive, but I also have medication, so I'm kind of a superhuman when it comes to work. So I just really enjoy what I do. So I don't, every day, I just do something more, work on something else. So hard for me to say what the plans are outside of finishing the book. Who knows? I may start another book tomorrow, I never know.
Okay, so thank you so much again for doing this interview. I will just stop the recording now.
Mm-hmm.